Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are diving into a listener request, finally.
Yeah, really diving deep this time.
We're talking disability rights in the Philippines,
Excellent.
Davao City specifically. Listeners want to know how these laws actually play out in real life for people, for PWDs.
Yeah, it's interesting because Davao has this reputation, right?
Yeah.
Like being really progressive.
Exactly. So we are going to see if it's true, at least for this.
Absolutely. And, I love this kind of stuff. I mean, the gap between what's written down, the laws, and like the reality for people, that's where things get interesting. Get you thinking.
Totally. Okay, so let's get started. Magna Carta for disabled persons, that's RA 7277. It's like, the Bill of Rights. But for PWDs in the Philippines, right?
Exactly.
Passed in 1992, so not exactly brand new. Okay. But it's interesting, right? Because this was, what, almost 30 years ago? And they were already putting in things like accessibility.
Huge for buildings, for transportation. I mean, it's all in there. Even a 1% quota for government jobs.
Yeah.
That's in the law.
Which is wild, because you think about it. 1992, globally. I mean, was anyone else doing this? I mean, were they ahead of the game?
It's a good question. The global push for disability rights, it was really just starting to gain some traction then. So, yeah, I mean, on paper, it seems like the Philippines was ahead of the curve, at least compared to a lot of other countries.
Okay, so that's then, but what about now?
Right, exactly. So they've definitely kept building on this foundation, right? Like you've got RA 9442 in 2006, and then later in 2016, there's RA 10754. They're basically strengthening the existing rights, adding benefits.
Oh, okay, so like what kind of benefits are we talking about?
Well, one that sticks out is this 20% discount for PWDs.
20% on everything.
A lot of things. Goods, services. I mean, it's pretty impressive when you compare it to what other countries offer. Big chunk.
I mean, that's huge. But it also kind of makes you wonder, like, if you need a 20% discount to afford things, what does that tell you about, the economic situation?
Oh, for sure. It highlights this whole other conversation about economic disparity, right? Like discounts are great, but it also points to a bigger issue.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. So we've talked about the national laws, but what about Davao City specifically? They've got those local ordinances, right?
Yeah, and that's where it's really interesting. See, they haven't just like copied the national stuff. They've actually gone further. They're really trying to address some more specific needs.
Okay, so what kind of stuff are they doing?
Well, for one, they set up this Disability Affairs Center, which is huge. It's like a dedicated hub to help PWDs with, whatever they need. It shows they're serious.
Yeah.
And then there's this other thing. It's small, but it kind of caught my eye. This ordinance for free movie passes for PWDs.
Free movies. That's awesome. Okay, I love it, but like, let's be real for a second. How accessible are the cinemas there? Like, can people actually use these passes?
Exactly. That's what we need to be asking, right? Like, it's great to have laws and programs, but if they don't actually translate into a better life for people, then what's the point?
So imagine, like, you're a PWD in Davao City, you're heading to work. How easy is it to get around?
Right. And forget just getting around. What about the jobs themselves? Like that 1% quota, is that leading to actual jobs and good jobs? Not just, the same kind of work everyone else gets offered. Are there opportunities for PWDs in different fields?
And what about healthcare? They promise free healthcare, but what's the quality of care like? Are there enough specialists?
Right. Those are the details that really matter. Like, I'm sure Davao City is making an effort. I mean, it seems like it. But there are always going to be challenges, right? It's a work in progress, like any city trying to grow in a way that includes everyone.
Totally. So we've gone from like laws written down on paper to like what it's actually like to live there, right? And it's definitely complicated.
Definitely. And it's constantly changing too. What we have are like little snapshots, right?
Like glimpses into this much bigger story that keeps going.
And that's what we want you thinking about. What's missing from those snapshots? What questions would you ask to really understand what's going on with disability inclusion in Davao City?